From the Caribbean News Desk, the morning edition. Good morning. I'm Kendol Morgan.
And I'm Denis Chabrol with the latest from across the Caribbean.
The drama in Belize's main opposition, United Democratic Party (UDP), is expected to reach the country's parliament today as party leader Shine Barrow tries to get the speaker to expel 2 MPs from the parliament. Barrow has written to the speaker saying senior UDP members Tracy Panton and Patrick Faber, who have formed a splinter group called the Alliance for Democracy, have effectively resigned from the party and that the party's Central Executive Committee has accepted their resignations. Belize electoral laws do not allow elected parliamentarians to switch allegiance or to resign from the party on whose slate they were elected. Panton and Faber have publicly stated that they have not resigned and have been pushing for a party conference in October to have Barrow replaced as leader. The Speaker of Parliament, Valerie Woods, has said her office has not received any notice of resignation from either member.
The Antigua and Barbuda government has decided to find jobs for unemployed fathers as part of its crime-fighting strategy. Chief of Staff in the Prime Minister's office, Ambassador Lionel Hurst, says Cabinet approved the measure this week as it continues to respond to the spike in crime which took place in July and August.
We know that unemployed fathers are more likely to engage in criminal activity than someone who is employed. And so one of the proposals which the Cabinet has floated and has agreed to fund is the employment of unemployed fathers with the understanding that a portion of their weekly wages or monthly salaries will be diverted to the magistrate's court so that the support of their children can take place. Because we don't want to put unemployed men in jail. We don't think that that is helpful.
The Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, ECCB, plans to start launching credit bureaus in its member countries from next week. Credit bureaus collect information on how individuals handle their debts and make that information available to banks, credit unions, and other lending institutions. ECCB Governor Timothy Antoine says the move should result in faster decisions on loans and lower interest rates for the people of the Eastern Caribbean.
I'm pleased to say that the Credit Bureau is on the cusp of a formal launch. The first ever credit report will be issued next week in Antigua and Barbuda. We then expect St. Kitts, St. Vincent, Grenada, St. Lucia. So they're phasing them in with better credit reporting. The banks should be able to make faster decisions, banks and credit unions, about loans. It will also allow them to better assess and price risk. And the pricing is important because if you are a good credit, you should be paying less in terms of your interest rate. Your interest rate should be low.
Former Special Economic Advisor to the Caribbean Community, CARICOM, Dr. Maurice Odell, is lamenting the failure of Caribbean nations to take advantage of the Economic Partnership Agreement with the European Union. Speaking at the launch of his autobiography titled An Eventful Life, he said it is very hard for Caribbean services to penetrate the European Union market.
That is still providing a lot of difficulty for the Caribbean, partly because we don't really have the capacity to penetrate those markets. Our strength really lies in the services sector, and there's a lot of difficulty gaining access to the European market by our providers of services.
In his book, Dr. Odell says despite certain waivers and concessions to CARIFORUM investors and suppliers, the EPA was not sufficiently non-reciprocal. He says there was not a level playing field given the wide disparities in capacities between CARIFORUM and EU partners. Dr. Odell says the Caribbean was put at a disadvantage of negotiating the EPA with Europe rather than as part of the African, Caribbean and Pacific group.
Dutch St. Martin and several other Caribbean territories are working on a strategy to combat invasive species. Government Minister Gracia Heiliger Martin told the Parliament that the Nature Foundation recently hired a new ranger who would be leading the invasive species management.
The foundation will also be expanding the focus of invasive species project to analyze the impact of other invasive species on the island and explore area-based management activities. Additionally, the foundation will continue to partner with French St. Martin, Saba, Statia, and Anguilla, with works regarding invasive species management and biosecurity between our countries.
Well, this has been the morning edition from the Caribbean News Desk. You may contact us by phone or WhatsApp at +592 700 9293. Thanks for listening.